Hello, today for review I've got a second version of a bit underlooked model made by HiBy, it's Seeds II. Their single dynamic driver in-ear monitors. I reviewed first version, it offered nice design with a pretty fun sound, but second version is a step forward in every single aspect, and they definitely managed to give more value for the price. So they use single dynamic driver but with dual voice coils, special acoustic chambers inside of the shells, and what is interesting here, shells are made of copper with special plating process, so really promising in terms of features. Price is about $130 for basic version or $150 if you want additional Pentacon cable, and actually that's all I can say in the introduction part. Let's proceed to the review directly. As you can see, package is pretty nice, it's big, and actually it's bigger and more fancy than is typical for this tire. Nice combination of matte and glossy paper, good polygraphy. Here mentioned that patent pending HDSS high definition sound standard, high-res audio certification, and they didn't print specs here, so let's go inside of the box. As usual, we can remove outer wrap and get access to internal box. Upper layer contains earpieces themselves, so it's clearly visible that they wanted to give maximum value and make them presentation as fancy as possible. So let's push earpieces out. I've lost one tip somewhere, we'll find it later. Case, set of tips and accessories. Nice case with stock cable inside. In the accessories we'll have cleaning tool and manual, and basically a set of tips. So base tips, balanced, crisp and foam. At least they didn't call the crisp ones vocal like some other companies does. And in terms of design, they are really stylish. Interesting finish. Of course they bit gathering fingerprints, but looks extremely well. Made of metal, feels pretty heavy, so they decided to utilize thick and heavy shells to reduce resonance and give better controlled sound. Finish quality is great, level of craftsmanship too. They are pretty comfortable, they fitting nicely into ears thanks to smooth surfaces and thanks to proper angle of the spout. It has a slightly above average length, so sound isolation is also slightly above average. You can see that there is a lip for holding the tips, protective grill, and all that stuff is done really well here. Here is how they look with the tips. And stock cable here used 4-core silver-plated copper, and they decided to use 0.78mm 2-pin connectors with a bit recessed pins. So fitting nicely, holding really well, good option for this price tire. Here they are. There are ear hooks that reduce microphonic noise, but no memory wire inside. They are holding cable, and cable is really soft with low microphonic effect, looks pretty attractive. not easy to tangle, and after the splitter it goes just winded. Here is a jack, so basically nice cable. So to summarize that exterior part, it's done on a really good level, and HiBy definitely want to deliver the maximum value, and they pretty much succeed. For the $130 they deliver a lot of good stuff. And of course about the sound, they require about 20 hours of burn in, so if you decide to get them, just burn them in a little bit, then select the proper tips and you are settled. So let's have some player on the table to show examples, and let's talk about the sound. So first thing to notice is that they have nothing in common with the previous version of HiBy Seeds. Previous HiBy Seeds were warmer, bassier, and they were fun, but probably not audiophilic, and targeted more towards mass market. While Seeds II is more created for those who used to more high-end sound, for those who need more resolution and at the same time want maximum coherence and want the dynamic driver sound in nature, because balanced armatures will give a thinner sound with more focus on the micro contrast, and hybrid setups or multi-balanced armature ones won't be that coherent, and most probably you will notice driver overlaps in some areas, while this one utilizes single wide range driver and deliver maximum coherence. So lows are accented, but accent is not big, at least without bassy tips. Of course you can get more low frequencies using bassy tips, but I decided to go with that called balanced, because well, I like balanced, and usually it's the best option to my ears. And bass is accented, but accent is not big, just to add a bit more weight and a bit more mass to the music, but at the same time not oversaturate low frequencies. Lows are really well controlled, they have a good depth, not maximum one probably, but close to maximum, and thanks to the dynamic driver nature, they will deliver nice good punch with a good weight and with a nice sense of presence. At the same time they are good in texturing. Of course they don't go deep into the small details like balanced armature does, but at the same time they're not sounding dry or fast. It's just like balanced low frequencies typical for the dynamic drivers. They are good with electronic music, but probably not for the bass heads. But the strongest part here, of course, is the acoustic instruments with small nuances and other stuff. They're sounding really good with such instruments and deliver good sense of realism without exaggerating that. And I'm a pretty logical man, so as an example I've decided to use Juno Reactor Tempest because I just like it how this track sounds with these in-ear monitors. It's all about the deep bass in the introduction, that interesting sound rolling from left ear to right and vice versa in the beginning, and this model sounds good with nice sense of resonance in the low frequencies, and main part of course sounds also nicely thanks to the good resolution. Mids are typical well-tuned dynamic driver mids. They are not going into micro contrast like balanced armature does, but at the same time resolution is normal, it's just not focused on that small nuances. It sounds with a good weight, but at the same time they are not trying to boost the emotions, they are not trying to highlight the macro dynamics, they are not adding too much additional weight, so really balancing between all the different types of tuning, delivering natural and musical signature, but not dry and monitoring. They are moderately critical for the quality of records, because they won't nitpick small issues, but at the same time they won't try to smooth anything, they won't try to add anything to the record, so you will need properly mastered records and a good source to drive them properly, and HiBy R8 is a good example of the good source for them. And with all that components in place, they will deliver nice, well-balanced sound with proper weight, with good resolution, with good sense of realism, and so on. Stage above average in width and in depth, not the biggest one, not the smallest one, so somewhere in between of average and maximum one. Width is a bit better format than depth, but depth layering is also pretty nice. And as an example for the mid frequencies, I've got Pantera's Walk. It's not the audiophiliac record, of course, it's not the track to test something, but it's a good illustration because it requires nice resolution, it requires technical earphones, and these IEMs are pretty good for such music, thanks to the good resolution and thanks to the absence of attempts to color something. And treble is accented a bit, not too much, but if you're sensitive to treble, just listen to them before buying. For me it's a normal amount of treble, not even coming above my average preference, but a lot of people are more treble sensitive than I am. And they have slightly above average extension that is good for this price range. In terms of resolution it's nice, but not at the balanced armature level, but at the same time they have a better weight than typical balanced armatures in this price range, and a bit better layering. So layering here is just really basic, but still it's at least present. It gives nice overtone saturation and good amount of that small decays and small nuances of chamber where track is recorded, when of course it's recorded in some kind of chamber and not just mixed in studio. So pretty nice and rich treble for this price range, but not trying to be on the super fast or lightweight side. And as an example, I've got Hiromi Uehara, once again Rainmaker, nice track to showcase the realism of treble here. Of course it's not comparable with mid segment, with models like $300 or more, but it delivers a good amount of overtones and other stuff for the lower mid segment. So to summarize everything, slightly V-shaped in tuning, but not without big accent on the low frequencies. Speaking about the pairings, if I remember right, they have 38 ohms of impedance, or 34, and 109 decibels of sensitivity, so slightly below average, but not far from average sensitivity. They don't require something super powerful, they don't require super black background, but they require a good player with a slightly above average amount of power. In my opinion, HiBy created them for the R5 and new R6 because they show the good combination together. Maybe R6 Pro because they were released last year and R6 2020 was released later, but who knows, maybe it was already in design. Of course, it's not limited to HiBy players only, but with them it offers good results. But they need something of mid-segment at least to show their full potential. And speaking about comparisons, just few models because a lot of them are in this segment. NF Audio NM2 Plus that I reviewed, it's also a single dynamic driver, but it's more natural, more focused on the micro contrast and a bit more aggressive. I don't know, Eco OH10 that also utilizes copper shells and has some similarity in design a little bit. Echo is a bit bigger on low frequencies, but with a bit less resolution. On the mids it goes more to the micro contrast and gives a bit more details, and on the treble Seeds II is a bit better refined. So basically Echo is better on the mids, this one is better a bit on the ends, but Echo will be a better choice if you need more bass. If you like a big bass, Echo OH10 is a really good option. And FiO FH3, just to mention, because there are a lot of other models. FiO is more V-shaped, more fun, with more accents on the both ends of the signature, so it's more typical hybrid in-ear monitors. So, to summarize this part, HiBy created interesting single dynamic driver earphones. I definitely recommend you to listen them if you'll have such opportunity, and to be honest, I think that they receive less attention than they deserve. So it was Seeds II. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.